Hello and welcome to the Virtual Touring Masters. I'm here today at the Österreichring with my colleague Scott Woodwiss, and this is the first time he's commentating on the Virtual Touring Masters this season. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you very much, Toby. Pleasure to be here. Rather impromptu appearance, I have to say, but I believe Keith is unavailable, so Ryan asked me to step in. I was only too obliged to do so. So, yep, here I am.
Yeah, I think Keith is actually on holiday in Jamaica, so rather
Ah,
him than me. But needless to say, I'm sure we'll have fun commentating on this particular round. Österreichring, one of my favourite tracks, it has to be said. And this is the one without the chicane in the first part of the lap as well. So it's ultra high speed, should suit a variety of cars. But actually, this season has been kind of against the form book in terms of the cars. You'd expect the faster cars to be good at this track, like the BMW M1 and the Porsche. But in fact, we've seen that hasn't been the case. We saw at Salzburgring, for example, the Capri was particularly quick, and obviously Robert Wiesenmuller has been very competitive so far this season. It's really going to be about who gets the lapping in qualifying and who can stay at the front and build a gap, really. That's what we've seen so far this season, Scott.
yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, looking at the power outputs of all the cars, there's about a 70 horsepower difference between them, and they range from about 520 to about 590 on these cars. And these things were fire-spitting cars back in the 70s, of course. If you ever watch the Group 5 cars, if you watch them on YouTube, you can see clips of these cars going around, and drivers such as Klaus Ludwig and Hans Stuck and all those classic drivers that used to, hurl these machines around. This was back in the days when, to take a line from Rush, when motorsport was safe and motorsport was dangerous and sex was safe. So it's
Yeah.
kind of things have kind of changed around the other way. But this is an area of cars which unfortunately we won't ever see again. But it's great to have them relived in a series like the Virtual Touring Masters and on a circuit like the Österreichring, which of course the is a layout which kind of overshadows the newer layout, the Red Bull Ring, because it really is a fast and flowing circuit, and in
Yeah.
many ways, it really does outdo the old circuit, the current circuit that we have right now.
Absolutely, and the races that we used to see here, I mean, 1982 finish between Elio De Angelis and Keke Rosberg was an absolute classic F1 race. So it does produce great racing. We will have a look at the track in just a minute after this.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Welcome back, and we're just going to have a quick look at the championship standings before we head into the server itself. And as you can see, Jesper Talborg has taken the championship lead after Robert Wiesenmuller's disastrous final lap problem that he had with his steering wheel, which caused him to retire from the race at Hockenheimring. And of course, Wiesenmuller now it trails Talborg by 6 points, and it has closed up the top four dramatically. You'd have to say Rob Taplin's still in with a shout of in the title race. Ross McGregor, of course, our opening round victor. So it's really tight up the top, and Matt Richards, a couple of good results. He could be back in the hunt.
I think the great thing is that we've seen the rise of two drivers who, in the past, haven't really been up there, with all due respects, in the championship fight and up there scoring regularly in the points and scoring fantastic qualifying and race performances. And that is Rob Taplin and both Matt Richards. These two guys have really taken a shine to these Group 5 race cars, and they really have been able to extract a lot of performance out of them, and been up there and on the pace of the guys such as Jesper Tolborg, RW, Ross McGregor, and even guys like John Monroe, who's doing a fantastic job also, even though he's not quite in the top 10 for points. So these guys really are putting themselves in the shop window for other championships. Of course, you've got the championships like maybe like the virtual whatever the future Tomon's the Cold Clear series will be. Of course, the virtual V8 supercars going forward, and other championships going through in case even the championships we have right now, which may need drivers to step in at some point because other drivers are ill for whatever reason. But I think the great thing is that we have a couple more guys re-emerging and finding their feet. And I mean, speaking of these kind of guys, I'm looking at the times now. Matt Richards is currently fourth. I can't see Rob's time at the moment on the board, unless he's somewhere down and hasn't set a time yet. He's here, but he hasn't set a time yet. But he is out on circuits. That's the main thing. But Matt Richards in the top five, doing another great performance, and it would have been a great performance in Hockenheim had he not thrown it away in the early laps.
Absolutely, and he was, very quick at Hockenheim, of course. So expecting to be up there again. John Munro, of course, we haven't seen him, this season really. I mean, we saw him for 2 corners at Salzburgring, and before he rolled it, and that was such a shame as well. I tipped him for the win there, so he's fighting, of course, for his first Touring Pro Series win here, and he's setting the pace at the moment from Robert Wiesenmuller, and it's not an insignificant time that he set, 32.8. That's pretty quick. So obviously they're doing qualifying runs now with just 2 minutes 56 seconds left before qualifying.
And also, he's fastest in by quite a margin. That's just over 0.4 of a second, which really shows that the capability of the Ford Capri, as he catches a bit of air over the jump there, as he now heads up towards what is technically the last corner, but it's the last 2 corners on the current Red Bull ring. But the way you watch these cars, and particularly John especially, the way they throw these cars into the corner, because it gives them so much downforce, so much confidence, they just be able to pitch the car in through the right hand. In fact, he's only, look at that, about 0.5 off his personal best lap time. So he's setting not only quick lap times, but consistent as well. So you'd have to agree that if he can keep it all together, then John stands a very good chance of scoring his first TPS victory. But then again, you tipped him for that in Salzburg, and look what happened 2 corners later. So maybe we should be doing the opposite and saying that he's not going to win.
Yes, I don't want to put the commentator's curse on anyone today. Really, I've trying to avoid that. I'm trying to avoid it where I can. This section that Matt Richards is just coming up to now at the top of the hill. It's a curved braking zone. These cars do not appreciate being in curved braking zones, and it's going to be a funnel point on the opening lap. I can see perhaps a little bit of contact there at some point during the race. This part of the track is very similar to the as you say, the Red Bull ring as it is now. I know it as the A1 ring. That's how I like to think of it, but it's exactly the same as the existing track. We go through the right-hander here and heading towards the final 2 corners on the new track. Obviously, on the historic layout that we're on now, it's just one sweeping corner. And it is banked as well, so you can throw the car in, as Richards has done, and he's actually missed the camber a little bit. But it's, as you can see, a massively high-speed track, and there's danger everywhere. The Armco is just a few feet away.
So if we ride with Matt now, of course, there's some fantastic jumps on this circuit as well. You see that a prime example is coming up towards turn 1 here. Look at, you're turning, and the car is in mid-air as you pitch the car through the first corner. So to be able to have to just judge that accordingly takes a very precise amount of skill and have a lot of confidence in the car and the setup. And I think a car such as the Ford Capri is a very forgiving car. I mean, I've had a temporary go on these Group 5 cars in the past, and the Ford Capri does seem to be that one of the best all-rounders, that it has enough power, but at the same time it delivers it in a way that's not too aggressive. I think it's mainly due to the fact that it's such an aerodynamic car with the large rear wing and front air down. And the fact that you can, it's a very usable car, and you have the ability to use all of that 500 plus horsepower in a rather effective way. And if you look at cars such as the Toyota and especially the Porsche as well, those cars are squirming around quite a lot because they haven't got so much aerodynamic grip. They've got quite streamlined bodywork, as you see a prime example here with Jesper Tolborg, but there's not much downforce on the rear, and that, believe it or not, that rear wing's not really giving that much downforce. And it still boggles the mind how he's able to throw that car into the corner in mid-air and still keep it going out the other side. But then again, that's Jesper Tolborg for you. Yeah,
they were a bit crude in aerodynamics in the sort of 70s, late 70s, when these cars are sort of started to come to the fore. Ground effects wasn't even in F1 at that point, so you know, 77, 78, it was started to look at ground effects and really aerodynamic benefits. So yeah, these cars, as you say, are quite inefficient.
So we're now going into qualifying right now, because I think we've just finished practice. So John Munro managed to top the time some 0.4 of a second ahead of anyone, and already John's very keen to get out at the end of the pit lane along with Matt Richards. So the 2 Capris, this seems to be a circuit that does seem to suit the Capris, but the Celikas aren't too far away either, and also Ross McGregor has managed to work his way up into 3rd position. And Ross has had a kind of up and down season. He was in a position to win at Spa, of course, but then unfortunately threw it all the way, and then that led to that fantastic climax of the duel between Robert Wiesenmuller and Jesper Tolborg, which I believe Robert actually won out in the end. But Rob's had a little bit of bad luck. He's been overall the fastest driver, arguably, but of course he's had just a little bit of bad luck. He wasn't able to take the victory in the Did he win the Salzburgring? So
he did win the Salzburgring, but he was penalised for a lap 1 contact with Matteo Orban, which it docked his points from that round. He's had, as you say, quite a lot of bad luck and his own misfortune as well. Of course, he's been in his own undoing, 1 or 2 incidents, but yeah, he taken out of the lead by Talbot at Spa. The list is endless. So as you say, the championship shouldn't be this close, but it is, and we're grateful for that.
I think, in all fairness, that a close championship really does work for any kind of racing series because it does add that tension. And it's not like Formula 1 has been currently where Sebastian Vettel wins the championship with several races to go. Of course, it's almost a foregone conclusion. And with these cars, because they have their own traits, and a couple of them are kind of good all-rounders, like the Ford and the Celica, the good thing is, effectively, is that you can go into every race, and despite the kind of the faster guys, you can kind of go into the race almost not really having any kind of premonition as to who's going to come out on top at the end of the weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some tracks where, yes, the Grand Prix has got a lot of aerodynamics, but it does struggle sometimes on the straights. So, guys like John Monroe are able to push their cars a little bit harder and take advantage of that. Then there are times when circuits that suit either the Porsche or the Celica, or maybe in some ways the BMW and the Lancia. And I think arguably we haven't really seen any circuits or any kind of situations where the Lancia and the BMW have been strongest. We haven't really had that many technicals. I think really the Lancia is a very lightweight, nimble car, but it's got the least amount of power out of the 5 cars. It's got about 520 horsepower compared to the top cars that run about 590. So, but it's also very lightweight. I believe it must be the lightest of the 5 cars that we have running in this championship.
It is.
So what it does, it makes it very nimble. We haven't really had that many technical circuits where the Lancia guys have been able to really stretch their legs and gain an advantage, and it's already been power circuits and downforce circuits where having the large amounts of aero and the horsepower advantage really does work in their favour. So it's going to be intriguing. I think for the moment there's quite a nice mix because you've got a Ford, a Capri in first, a Toyota in second, and then you've got obviously the Porsche in third. 3 different cars in the top 3 in practice at least, so it really does make it very open. It could be one of those 3 cars. In fact, it could really be anyone getting off in a quick lap time for sure.
Absolutely. Munro's coming through to complete the first flying lap, and he's set at 33.1, so really not that far off his practice time. Who's coming through now to complete a lap? We've got, crossing the line, Simon Shepherd pops up into 2nd place with a 35.3. Not too bad at all, actually, from Simon Shepherd, so they come flying over here. I was having a bit of a giggle at John Munro. He caught so much air into turn 1. It was unbelievable. Shepherd a bit wiggly out. The times are coming through thick and fast. Matt Richards 33.6, half a second off. Raul Pereira's popped up into 5th place provisionally. Robert Wiesemuller is on a lap and he's only a 10th off John Munro's pace setting time. Time still coming in. Rob Tapley up to 5th place with a 34.2. That's not actually where he needs to be. If you look at where Munro is in an identical car, he's over a second off at the moment, but Wiesemuller is looking pretty good. He's probably going to put it provisionally on the front row, I would say, with this time, and he does. 0.128 off Munro's time, so some time to be found, but it's quicker than, I think that's about the time he did in practice. So as he flies over the hump and into turn 1, it's unbelievable, that corner.
You have to say that corner, or that approach to turn 1, is going to catch a lot of people out, and you wouldn't want to be the guy that's, if you're going 3 wide down that straight, you wouldn't want to be the guy that's either on the inside or either in the middle or on the outside, because if the guy on the inside just takes that approach a little bit too wrong, and then gets himself out of shape, that can cause one monumental accident, and you can find yourself a passenger straight away. So John Munro exiting the final corner as he puts the tail out on that Capri, and down the pit straight he goes. He goes even quicker, 32.7. That's about a 10th quicker than he managed in practice. His fastest time in practice was a 32.8. He's the only man so far that I can see the whole weekend that's actually managed to get a sub 33 lap time. So fantastic stuff. Here comes Eric Tveit, then another different car. So it's 4 different cars. Makes a car
the
in the
M1.
top 5, I can see.
Doesn't
the
improve.
M1 and 5th quickest on a 1. The quickest, that time was a 1:35, but his quickest time so far has been a 1:34. So the times continue to tumble as Raul Pereira now puts it 6th to go on to row 3, just ahead of this man Rob Taplin as he fires it onto the pit straight underneath the start banner, and he stays 7th in fact. as we look forward. But recently we're winding up for another lap, and it's quite intriguing. I have to admit, in terms of cars, the Celica is quite a striking looking thing. It's got a very aggressive, almost wedge shape. It's very tapered for front aerodynamics and airflow across the top of the car in some ways. It's a fantastic looking thing. In fact, all these cars are, really.
Yeah, the Celica is one of the better cars in the straight line, simply because of its aerodynamic proportions. In fact, it's very good in a slipstream, actually, as is the Capri. This car, the Lancia, is, as we were discussing earlier, as Pereira brakes on the grass, and as I said, they don't like turning and braking at the same time. Yeah. So Pereira's got to go back to the pit lane, repair the damage, and start again. Taplin has shown better pace than this so far this season. I expect to see him improve. McGregor has put it into 5th provisionally. Let's see if Talborg has not improved through Sector 1. I think he had a poor first corner. Wiesenmuller, I think there was only 4 tenths down we saw through Sector 1. That's not too bad in the Celica. So let's see whether he can make some time up just a little bit through the middle part of this lap. He's gone a little bit deep into that corner there, so I don't think he's going to improve on this lap. And it is worth saying that the tyres, as long as they do last, they are very good, and they do maintain their pace pretty well. So these guys tend to put quite a lot of fuel in, and so long as they don't get any damage, they just run the whole qualifying session. That's what we've seen so far this season. Once or twice they've ducked back into the pit lane, for example, at Spa. But generally the tyres hold up pretty well until they start losing their life towards the end of the stint. Nielsen goes up into 6th place in the Capri, so he's moving up the field. Rosenmeyer pops up into 14th place as well and improves on his previous best. Rob Taplin still has some work to do, starts another lap now, and I would have said, you know, the Capri does look very strong here, so I would expect him to be somewhere near the front eventually, but he doesn't seem to have put a lap together so far, Scott.
Not quite, but you mentioned about the Capri. I think the Capri overall is the strongest car on this track because you've got about 5 or 6 of the top 10 spots so far are made up by Ford Capri, so it definitely seems to be the car of choice, although we have got the oddballs in there with Wiesenmuller in the Toyota, Talborg and McGregor in the Porsche. And of course we have Raul Pereira just on the fringe of the top in the Lancia, and of course Eric Tveit in the BMW. So there is at least one of each car in the field and doing a great job. So the fantastic situation we have is that effectively, if you're quick enough and you can extract enough performance from whichever car you're driving, it doesn't matter what you're in, whether it's a BMW, a Ford, Toyota, a Porsche or a Lancia. If you've got the pace, you can get yourself up there. And speaking of getting himself up there, Talborg just jumped to 3rd place ahead of Matt Richards on a 33.6. So the Iceman, as we like to call him, because he's very much like Kim. He doesn't say very much at all. If he does, it's always rather humorous. So he's now up to 3rd place, and now Robert Wiesenmuller is looking for another quick lap time as we have less than 2 minutes left in the session. John Monroe, look, what's incredible is that no one's been able to manage to get remotely close to John Monroe's 1:32.712. Again, like I said, the only man that's managed to do a sub-33 lap time, I'm pretty sure, all weekend, and that includes possibly across the server. I could be wrong because I haven't checked the live races server, but it's a fantastic effort from John. He's certainly putting himself as top dog going into the race, providing he can keep it more than 2 corners. As Richards now responds to Talborg's lap with a 33.3.
Yeah, that's an improvement for Richards, a big improvement that helps him. The Capri's then showing that they are probably one of the stronger cars here. I know that John Monroe in practice found that the Lancia and the Celica were actually quicker cars, but whether that's the case through the race or not is difficult to ascertain. Obviously, 1 lap pace is one thing, but race pace is something else. Rob Taplin into the wall, tapping the wall, you would say. And he's got some work to do still if he wants to be in the first couple of the rows. Talborg has looked like he might improve on this lap, actually, so this might be good enough to put him onto the front row. He's got to have a stellar final sector. He's going to come across the line now, and it's going to be a 33.6. So actually he sets an almost identical time to the one he previously set, but he lost 3 tenths in the final corner, Scott.
It's quite crucial that the way these kind of corners you can lose so much because of the line you have to take. If you look at Ross McGregor here, he's now heading down the back straight around the top of the circuit. And some of these long corners, especially the braking zone here at this point, the twitching in, as you said, the turning and braking at the same time, and that's such a situation that can unsettle the car a lot, especially if you've got a lot of the brake bias is more towards the rear, because of course the more rear bias means the rear block up more than the front. And that can help if you're trying to rotate a car that usually understeers quite a lot. But when you're on a circuit like this, really don't want that too much, because of course if you're braking and turning, that can really bring the back end around, because all the weight's going towards the front. And even though it's a car that Porsche might be helped a little bit by the fact that it is rear-ended, it gives it a bit of weight distribution on towards the rear. That can be quite important. Now this corner right here, look at the line you have to set, because the ideal line, of course, is the black markers down the bottom, but you can take a wider run as Ross has done to kind of slingshot around towards the straight.
I think he's done that too. Yeah, sorry, I think he's done that. Oh, never mind. What do I know? I was just going to say, I thought he'd done that to get a good run onto the next lap, but it's end of session for him, so obviously maybe he was trying that. But it looks like John Munro's not going to be competed for the for pole position here, Scott. And I have to say, it never looked in doubt, did it really?
It didn't, to be honest. Of course, the time he said in practice, no one was able to get more than less than 0.4 of a second inside that time, and of course now he's extended that by a further 10, so he's half a second clear of the field, and you have to say that John is obviously without doubt the pace setter, and now it just remains to see who is going to be the best of the rest in terms of being able to catch up, but that all depends whether or not John can have a trouble-free first lap and able to keep it in front and resist the pressure as Kevin Enderman decides to find the barriers on the final corner, and then decides I've had enough. I'm diving straight back into the pit lane. So he will start in 10th. So good lap from Kevin to eventually in the Lancia get himself up there. He just actually shuffled out Raul Pereira as well. So I think he, unless anyone else jumped in that I can see, because I'm not 100% as to who drives what car, but I'm pretty sure he's put himself as top Lancia on a 34.092.
Yeah, he's. I'm just looking through the times now. I think he probably is. Yeah. So I know Raul Pereira, obviously, is in a similar car, but we'll just jump into a quick break now, and we'll be back in a second.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
We are back at the Österreichring in the virtual Touring Masters, and this is the lineup on the grid. So John Munro taking a sensational pole, actually by over half a second from Robert Wiesenmuller, who was our championship leader until last round when he was usurped by Jesper Talborg. Matt Richards and Eric Tveit are on row 2 of the grid, and Jesper Talborg is alongside Ross McGregor, and 2 Porsches on row 3, Scott.
Yeah, what's intriguing is that, of course, it just shows just how important consistency is in a championship like Virtual Touring Masters, because Jesper Talborg hasn't yet won a race in this series, but it's his consistent amount of results that's managed to get him into the lead of the championship. So having him and Ross McGregor, who has won 2 races this season, as far as I remember, of course at Spa and then last time out at Hockenheim, has been absolutely fantastic. Rob Tapman will start 7th, one of the 2 sensations of this season, along with Matt Richards, and then we've got Anders Nilsson in 8th position to make up row 4. And then Mate Orban on row 5 in the 935 Turbo, and then we've got the first of the Lancias in P10. So it's great to see that we've got at least one of each car in the top 10, but you have to admit, Toby, that grid has been almost practically dominated by Capris, because we have 4 Capris, 3 Porsches, a Celica, an M1 and a Lancia. So it seems to be, as I said, the Ford seems to be the choice of car around here, unless you can make one of the other cars work, in which case the guy likes the Wiesenmuller, Tveit, Enderman, Orban, Talborg and McGregor seem to have done. Moving forwards towards the back of the grid, hold on a second. So looking at the grid that we have right now, and the cars are in practice with about 2 minutes left to go. Before we get to the rest of the grid, if you do want to keep in touch with us here at Touring Pro Series, you can do via one of our many social media feeds. You can keep up to date with everything on Facebook, facebook.com/TouringProSeries. You can also follow us on Twitter at Touring_Pro. And if for whatever reason you have missed any broadcasts this season or going back there are for the past year or so, not to worry, because you can head over to our YouTube page, which is simply called Touring Pro Series. You'll find every broadcast that we've done uploaded in full for you to watch at your leisure whenever you like. So it's great to see that as well. And of course, for all the information on the latest news and stories, you can go to TouringProSeries.com. you can find a whole bunch of things, including, of course, the TPS Hall of Fame, and you get to see who is, just for the moment at least, the best and highest ranked TPS drivers in the entire league. So we have the top 10. I believe Toby has managed to reappear from his small excursion. So let's look at the rest of the top, the rest of the best of the rest from 11th downwards. So Raul Pereira starts 11th in the Lancia and Bruno Salsa-Ferreira in the Porsche. Gary Lennon, who's slowly trying to regain his form a little bit, in 13th place in the Porsche, and Sebastian Rosemeyer in the Capri. Simon Shepherd, he put in a decent enough lap early on in the session, but it's found himself down in 15th in the BMW. And then Tony Matthews in 16th in the Celica Turbo. Team Straub and David Junt with a pair of Capris on row 9. And then Lukas Demelin and Andy Bonar on row 10 in a Lancia and a Celica. Are there any drivers down there outside the top 10 that you're surprised haven't done a little bit better? I mean, or is it really kind of more the status quo for people who you'd expect are actually up in the top 10?
Yeah, pretty much. Tim Straub's done a good job in 17th place, actually. He's only played rFactor for a few races this season, actually. So, yeah, he's done a reasonable job. Actually, one thing I would say is that obviously Pedro Amaral, we've seen him do quite well in one or two other championships. So I guess he doesn't get on with these cars whatsoever. But you know, maybe the last couple of rounds, obviously Fuji and Mount Panorama might suit him. Those are the two rounds coming up in the rest of the season. So we'll see. But certainly Pedro Amaral has been a little bit disappointing this season, I would say. But he's got a little bit of time on his hands to fix that. But anyway, we're heading into the race. Scott, have you got any predictions?
I think from what we've been talking about, I think maybe it would be unwise to put a prediction on John Monroe, because of course I think we might put the commentators cursing him like we did at Salzburg-Ring. So we could risk it and put John Monroe, but if we're going to say nothing about him to give him the best possible chance, you have to possibly the best of the rest, as we saw in qualifying. It's probably going to be Robert Wiesenmuller, but of course I think he is going to be pressed hard by the likes of Matt Richards, provided he can keep it out of the barriers on the first couple of laps. And then Eric de Vries, we don't see much of how good the BMWs are this season, as far as I'm aware. So fourth place for him is a great effort, and of course he's always a fantastic driver to say the least. And of course Jesper Tolborg, he's perennially up there as a very consistent and thorough driver as well, so he could be up there for at least a podium. But I think if we're going to be bold with predictions, I'd say it's probably not going to be John Monroe.
I don't think that's being particularly bold, to be honest. I think that's quite the opposite. But I actually think John Monroe's shown over the last year or so that he has improved as a driver, and he has been quick throughout his tenure here at TPS, but has never quite shown the consistency to win on a race distance. And I think doing the amount of pace he has over the rest of the field, as long as he doesn't crash or get involved in something he shouldn't, which he did at Salzburg-Ring, then I think he's got a great shout of breaking his TPS duck here. So I'm going to go with John Monroe, as much as Wiesenmuller is obviously the standard race winner this season in VTM. I think John Monroe has a great shout, so I'm just going to predict him again.
And of course, we should mention John Monroe, who was one of many people that we met over the course of the Autosport weekend a couple of weeks ago. Has had a fantastic opportunity offered him by none other than John Surtees, who's been invited to be involved with the Henry Surtees Foundation, and also potentially could be looking at testing either some karts and possibly even a Formula 4 race car. So that could be something that could be fantastic. I know that John is, I believe, at least got his racing license right now, so it'd be good to see him on the track at least. Bit of a test session. And I guess we should mention Autosport briefly. Of course, I mean, you and I both met, of course, with Ryan as well, and several other members of the TPS crew and various other oddities in sim racing. I think overall it was a fairly decent weekend, and I think it was one that was enjoyed by all, I think. Yeah,
my brother enjoyed it, I think, as well. He was out looking for sponsors for he's trying to get into the Renault Clio Championship, not the BTCC one, but the sort of national one that uses old Clio cars. And he had a pretty successful weekend himself and got a couple of interviews. So it is great to come to these kind of shows, and the Autosport show, certainly next year we ought to do something pretty major for the TouringProSeries and sort something a bit bigger out. But anyway, back to the event, and the guys are coming round the final corner now, and they are going to line up on the grid. and hopefully they will all get away nice and cleanly and head up to turn 1. And it's going to be almost flat out turn 1, and it could be very interesting indeed. So Munro pulling up into his grid slot. Wiesenmüller is already there, and Matt Richards angling his car in an aggressive fashion, trying to get possibly a better exit than Munro. We will head on board with Munro just for the start to see if we can get an indication of when the lights are going to go out. I actually can't see the starting lights on my screen right now, but we will endeavour to see whether Munro can get a better start than Wiesenmüller, and who's going to enter turn 1 first, and whether Richards can get a good start from row 3 as well. That Capri is lightning off the line. So here we go, waiting for the red to rise. Here comes Munro, and away he goes, and it's green at Österreichring, and he's got a great start, John Munro. In fact, Wiesenmüller has been left on the grid a little bit there, and Matt Richards has moved up into second place as well, and Eric Veit is positioning his car on the outside, looking aggressive on the outside of Wiesenmüller. He's not going to make a move into turn 1, but Wiesenmüller is still there in third place, and Veit is holding off. Anders Nielsen has made a good getaway as well. Talborg back into 7th place as well off the line, but Richards moving up straight away into second place, and Wiesenmüller having to go defensive into the tight right-hander. In fact, Richards runs a little bit wide there, and Wiesenmüller is in underneath his spoiler and having a look to see whether he can have a slipstream battle down into the curved braking zone. But look at the speed of that M1 down the back straight here, and he's going to get a run, is Mr. Veit on Wiesenmüller, and in fact he's ahead already as they head into the braking zone, and Wiesenmüller down to 4.
I think the big surprise is Talbot got back down to 8th place, getting around Ross McGregor, the man who started alongside on row 3, and they start to make their way towards the infield section of this course as they head towards the end of the first lap. It's surprising to see that John Knight's being allowed to be all the way slightly, and now Matt Richards is now being allowed to fall into the clutch of Eric Veit for a getaway. It seems to be that BMW M1 really suiting the Austrian, the hill, the twists and turns of the Austrian hills here at the Österreichring. And he has the toe as they head down towards the final corner to end the first lap, and as they hop over the hump towards the curved right-hander that takes them back onto the pit straight. Munro starting to break away already, showing his pace and his intentions early on. Back onto the pit straight, Munro will lead it then from Matt Richards in second. Veit is closely tucked behind him in third place, but how much longer is he now going to pull to the inside? But just backs up, he knows that it's too much of a risky move to go into turn 1 because you catch so much air.
Look at the state of that.
And Wiesenmüller is just behind in 4th position. Talborg is still in 7th. It's Matthew Orban in 5th in the Apple computer sponsored car. Then Anders Nielsen 6th, and Talborg's already got past him. So Talborg on a charge back up to 6th with Nielsen 7th, Ross McGregor 8th, Kevin Enderman 9th, and Rob Taplin, the other man that we've been talking about, has been breaking through in World Touring Masters, back down to 10th already.
Yeah, he's not had a good getaway as Taplin, and Veit is looking menacing in the early stages. Munro has a 1.4 second gap. Veit is going through past Richards, and that's exactly the same place that he made the move on. Wiesenmüller. Richards getting a little bit squirmy under braking, and he has managed to save it actually. I didn't think he was going to there, but it's allowed Wiesenmüller to get right onto his back bunker as well. And these three pursuing Munro, but Munro is just leaving them for dead. He's moved up to 1.6 seconds ahead, and we're only halfway through lap 2, so fantastic job by Munro so far, and he's showing that pace in qualifying was no fluke, Scott.
It certainly seems to have found something in a trick in the setup of that for Capri, because he really is just streaking away, and he's increasing that gap by a couple of tenths every sector. So really something has clicked with this car and this track on this occasion for John Munro. But Eric Veit's had a fantastic getaway. He's now up to 2nd place, and let's see with some clean air if he can pull away from Richards and Wiesenmüller. The answer at the moment seems to be no, because Richards is tucked underneath the slipstream of the BASF sponsored BMW M1. And then Wiesenmüller just a tiny bit behind, but still in contention there in 4th place. Looking back to see who has moved anywhere, Matthew Orban twice in the shot in 5th position. Talborg in 6th, behind Anders Nielsen and Ross McGregor in the Warsteiner gold and black Porsche 993. Fine, there he is with the red flashes on the launches. He's now being chased by Kevin Edwards, who's coming under attack from Rob Tapley. He's going up to the inside, and looks to be trying to make a move, and he has done. He's managed to get through with a fantastic clean pass. Is he going to lose out on the switchback? The answer appears to be no. Tapman's coming and have a huge moment to get to that corner. These cars are very hard to control. Once you get them into the slide, they get very twitchy indeed. And Enderman staying close as in the slipstream towards some very tricky breakers at the end of the straight. They pitch left, and it's almost like a Scandinavian flip. They go left and then right straight away afterwards as they head through. Looking back now, of course, we've lost Captain. And Raul Pereira's dropped back, so he's about 1.4 seconds back. You can see that Tapman really does seem to be favouring the Capri at the moment, because he is just closing in on Ross McGregor, who's probably being slightly halted at the moment by, it seems, Anders Nilsson. But now we're on board with Simon Shepherd looking back to the field. This is a nice little battle going on between David Jumper looking back from now and looking great, and looking back Gary Lennon in the Martin-sponsored Porsche, and then just behind in Simon Shepherd in the Nürburgring Nordschleife livery BMW M1 in 15th place. So nice little battle going on for the final positions, and Lennon was getting a little bit risky there, just threw the car into that final corner and nearly had a bit of a date with rear wing, I think, on that one. He's got a bit too close, but back at the front, Robert Rose lost it on the exit of turn 1 across the grass, and luckily he didn't lose the back end completely. But you can tell that John Monroe's pushing. He's already got almost a 2-second gap, but I think Toby might be coming into attack from Matt Richards at some point, because he's getting pretty close and not allowing the BMW to get away from him. Do appear to have lost audio on Toby, so if we can get that one back.
Yeah, sorry, I fixed that now. It's my headphones are playing up a little bit, but yeah, Twyton's Richards side by side through there, and you can see just how good that Matt Richards is in a straight line in that Capri. It just has so much straight line speed in a slipstream for some reason.
He really does. It's fantastic. It must be that the wing session he's running, or the fact that he's just keeping more comfortable in the draft than this kind of circuit. But you can see just how hard Matt Richards is having to work to try and keep up with Eric de Wijk at this point. As they turn their way towards the final corner, you see Richards getting a little bit squirmy at the rear end, working away, and that's allowing Wiesenmuller to get his nose into this and to get into play on this occasion. So let's see what Wiesenmuller can do here. They now start lap 5 of this 26th lap race here at the Österreichring.
He's never going to make a move into turn 1. It's not an overtaking move at all, I'm afraid. It's just lethal if you try and go side by side through there. Richard's got a great run though off the corner. He's got to look at Twyton here, but you can't really overtake into this corner because Twyton just will have the advantage up the hill and over the top around the back of the circuit. And this is going to be the trouble, that Twyton is going to hold these guys up. Provided Monroe doesn't make any further mistakes, he is going to have clean air and be able to run away from the field.
You can see that John now has a 2-second lead now in the front, so John Monroe doing well. As Rich is now looking to the outside, it's going to be a very, very, very good pull it off, and that was absolutely stellar from Matt Richards to just get his nose in front just before the braking zone, forcing Eric de Wijk to lift off out of the throttle and just back out of it to slot in behind the blue and white Ford Capri.
Let's have a look at the replay on this one, because this was a fantastic move. He just sent it up the inside, brake later than Twyton, and said, "Thank you very much, I'm going to chop you off." That's really mature driving from Richard as well. Aggressive, clinical, clean, second place.
And Wiesenmuller looks as though he can get himself into the action now, because he's kept himself there or thereabouts throughout this opening few laps. So he's definitely looking to be one to pounce as John Monroe flashes through the shot and has extended his gap by a further 0.4 of a second. So whilst these three scrap, he's taking full advantage of the clear air. And look at how close these guys are. 1, 2, 3. You can almost throw a blanket over them. As now Wiesenmuller has the toe, to Twyton has a toe from Richards in front. So Wiesenmuller's getting a double toe from both of them. And as Twyton goes to the outside, you have brave man, you can go around the outside and pull this one off. As they head into the corner, they're going to go side by side, and somehow they manage to get out of the other side relatively unscathed. Richards comes out of it in front, and Wiesenmuller's got the best run off that corner, because he's now going to be on the inside of Eric de Wijk down towards the right-hander. And de Wijk's got a slightly bit of a power advantage, and with that M1 has gone in too deep and runs wide. He's in the barriers. Eric de Wijk hits the barriers. He went a little too deep and a little too ambitious, trying to hold on to third place. And that's now allowed Robert Wiesenmuller to take full advantage, and he's now in third place and already sizing up Richards for a pass down towards the braking zone. Looking to the outside, can he repeat exactly what Richards did to Twyton a lap ago? Looks like he might just be able to do it, but no, Richards has the line and forces Wiesenmuller just to tuck in. But he's got the slip, he's got the cut back on the exit. Fantastic play from Wiesenmuller to get that one done. A little bit of contact on the exit, but Richards has been defeated for now. What a move by Wiesenmuller. So you could see that Richards was going to go deep into that corner to defend. Just hung back and then just stamped on the gas pedal on the exit and managed to make that boost stick. Great pass, RW up to second.
Fantastic stuff. These boys are absolutely on fire. And Biesenmüller, side by side in turn 1. Richards and Tveit. I could not believe that. And oh, Tveit's off in the background as well. Is he avoided the barrier? He's just about got away with it. A little bit wide on the grass, and he just got sideways. That BMW M1 has so much power, and you have to have a careful right foot. And I have to say, Mr. Tveit is not one of those people you have to say who has a careful right foot. Munro sets the fastest lap and extends his lead to 3.7 seconds. So at the end of lap 7, we've got Munro followed by Biesenmüller, Richards in 3rd, Tveit in 4th, Orban and Jesper Tauborg getting very cosy in 5th and 6th places respectively. Behind them you've got Anders Nielsen and Rob Taplin. Ross McGregor's in 9th place and 10th is Enderman. But these two boys, Orban and Tauborg, both in identical cars. And look at Tauborg, he's creeping up the inside. Is he going to make this one stick? They're going to go side by side, but Tauborg backs out. He's going to try and get a run into the curved braking zone at the end of the back straight here. And he's all over the back of Orban. I think this is just a matter of time, Scott.
Quite possibly could be pulling alongside and have the inside run down towards a very tricky part of the circuit, and Tauborg might get that move done. But you're going to wait and see exactly what RW did and just wait for Orban to run a little too deep on the corner, but thankfully Orban gets that Apple Computer number 71 Porsche anchored up in time. And I wonder with Erik Tveit if that second mistake was a result of the first one, maybe because with a car of this much power, this much substantial kind of grip and aerodynamic efficiency, you wonder possibly if that's caused it as Tauborg's forcing his way up the inside. He sized up Orban after a few points and trying to get it done, so Orban has to yield, and Tauborg is now back up into the top 5 after a rather shaky start. And you have to admit that Tauborg he really does know how to charge through the field and make a pass when it's needed. He's back up there now as Monroe further increases his lead. There's another fastest lap of the race, a 133.600, so that make it 4.4 seconds by the beginning of lap 8. So this is incredible pace by John Monroe. He really is putting himself in contention and trying to stamp his name as Richards runs across the grass on the exit of turn 1. You can't do that too many times, otherwise you'll surely lose the back end. But I think just quickly going back to the right, I think this first mistake when he went down here might have possibly rattled his confidence in the car a little bit, and it may have just kind of got his blood up, and that's possible. Of course, the second one just getting a bit over-eager on that right foot, but then again...
Taplin in the barrier! Oh, he just got too late on the brakes, and it's so easy to do. I said earlier in the broadcast, the Armco is not that far away at all, and it just grabs you in and takes you by the scruff of the neck, and just right there, perfect example, Rob Taplin losing out in that process to Ross McGregor as we were watching back from Landon Wilson. These two are not done, by the way, Orban and Tauborg, not done by any stretch of the imagination. I think they're just half a second apart, and Orban in an identical car as well, so the slipstream will help him, and it's not like he's following to fight in the M1. Biesenmüller's pulled out around about 9/10 on Matt Richards as well, so he has... Oh, and who's that? Oh, it's Tveit! It's Tveit spinning! Oh, look at that! He's just ruined his rear tyres, isn't he? He's overheated them massively. And let's see if we can catch what happened to Tveit there. I think he probably just put a wheel on the grass on the outside, to be honest. It's very easily done. He's just got too much power. Well saved.
Although full marks for the 360.
Yeah, he's got 9 out of 10 there. Look at these now, though. Line astern. You've got Tauborg, Orban, Tveit, Nielsen, McGregor. All well within shot. Rob Taplin's at the back of this queue, and behind them you've got Enderman and Pereira in shot as well. So this is the battle for 4th place, and they've got a 4-second gap, and Tveit's wide again. Look at that. He's just got no grip at the moment, Scott.
I think, obviously, in some cases I think it's possibly youthful exuberance, because we know that Tveit is around 15 years old, so he is one of the younger generation of drivers in the championship, and the fact that he's able to muscle one of these 500 horsepower plus cars around a circuit like Österreichring is really beyond anyone's kind of thoughts. Of course, you can do it virtually, but I'm not quite sure you have at least the physical strength to be able to put up with it in the real M1, I would have thought. But already, Tveit's trying to make up for lost ground. He's going to go to the outside of Anders Nielsen, and in plenty of time gets the move done back into 6th place. So you can see Tveit's now is kind of giving himself a bit of a hurry up now, and kind of a reality check that he has to kind of snap out of whatever mood or mentality he was in after that first mistake, just to try and just push on and do the best he can. But Anders Nielsen just staying close after that move, so he'll get caught of any kind of incident should Tveit get involved again. But he's now run a little too deep onto that corner, which allows Nielsen to have a look on the inside. Couldn't get it done, So Dwight now is now able to chase after the battle for what is now 4th position, as Talbot has now got past Matthew Orban and pulled the 4-second gap as Monroe pumps in a 1:33.345, and that would have been good enough, I'm pretty sure, to put him at least on row 2 in qualifying.
Yeah, it would. That's almost as quick as Biesemer did, and Biesemer, of course, was on the front row of the grid, so cracking lap times for Monroe up front, and he's obviously got this track nailed, and track and car combination working very, very well for the Scotsman. Eric Twite, I have to say, part of the thing that confuses me about Twite is he makes one mistake and then makes 4 or 5 afterwards. He never seems to learn from that. I'm not sure whether it's a case of the car. I mean, the car is well difficult in the field, don't get me wrong, to drive. But I don't know whether it's a case that he just can't rein in his sort of his feelings and emotions at that point and just take a breath. You know, the last thing he needs to do now is push 110%, try and make up for it, so make no mistakes. So it does confuse me, but he's still in the race. He's not in the barriers. He's not in the weeds, and he's in 6th place. It could be worse for Mr. Twite.
The thing is with mistakes is that you have to kind of put whatever mistake you've had made behind you and just really push on and just get it out of your system, because if you dwell on one mistake, it can lead to others, and it puts you completely the wrong mindset, completely the wrong state that you need to be in to at least drive one of these machines on a circuit like the Österreichring. So I think Dwight needs to have to use the next couple of laps just to get it out of his system, just not push too hard, just recompose himself and just get himself back into the groove. He seems to be doing that already. He's back up to 6th, trying to chase after Matthew Orban, I think 3/10 back. You see Ross Brugger lining up Anders Nielsen towards the final corner. They are going to run side by side over the jump. And can Ross get the nose of that Porsche in just on the inside of Anders Nielsen?
Great driving,
giving him room, and they're going to go side by side, but I think McGregor will have the better exit, possibly. Maybe not, because Nielsen's in front, but now Ross has the toe. Really going to line him up in his brain for a pass on the toe. When he's thinking about it on the inside. They're going to go mid-air through here, but no. Ross is sensible, backs down a bit and thinks, I'll live the fight another day and I'll try again a few corners later. As Toby once again runs across the grass.
Fantastic driving by these boys, side by side through the final corner. They nearly went side by side in turn 1. They're going side by side again into turn 2, and this time McGregor does make the move stick. And these boys are showing exactly what the TPS is all about and how you should rate one another. They gave each other plenty of racing room, and as a result, they're both still in 7th and 8th place and not somewhere in the trees in northern Austria. So fantastic job by these two boys, and I'm very, very impressed with the driving they've just put in then. And it goes to show that you don't have to be all elbows and arms and getting aggressive with the drivers you're racing against. You can give them room and just size them up later on in the lap. And that's exactly what McGregor did. And kudos to him, and I'm very impressed with that.
A lot of the races seem to be going on side of the top 5, because if you look at the gaps, of course, at the front, we've got John Monroe leading now by 6 seconds from Robert Wiesenmuller. Now, RW's pulled out a 4.5 second gap. That Nielsen losing it on the exit of that right hand. I think it was. He did see the back end snap a little bit, and that's now allowed Rob Tapping a free pass into 8th position. What if we get a replay of that? Because I'm pretty sure Anders lost the back end somewhere. Maybe he had a bit of Eric Tveit syndrome, just got a little bit too much power. Or either that, he just lost the back end a little bit. I think he caught it on the bump. That's what we saw the car just get a little bit unsettled and just straight lined it over the grass. Thankfully there wasn't any barriers or any kind of trees to prematurely end his race there and then. You see there just where that car just unsettled itself on the bump, and thankfully Anders is there to live to fight another day, only at the expense of 1 place. So that was certainly giving him a bit of a heart attack, at least a wake-up call at least. I think possibly Toby's mic could be playing up again. I possibly have lost his audio for a second.
Yeah, it's this.
There he is.
I need to get another one. I think the USB cable's a bit dodgy on this one. So, but anyway, yes. What I was saying was Anders Nielsen drove responsibly. Then he kept his foot in it and didn't lift off, panic, brake, get sideways on the grass. He could have done a 360 into the side of Rob Taplin there, and actually again Nielsen driving sensibly, and Taplin gave him plenty of room as well when he actually did go by him. So yeah, these boys shown actually that midfield is a place to be right now, and usually it's the place to avoid. So fantastic job, and I'm well impressed. Apart from, say, from Mr. Tveit, who's been round more times than the next door neighbour. So we'll see how he does for the remainder of the race.
I think the point I was making is that obviously at the front, because of course John Monroe's gap is now 6.2 seconds, and now RW's managed to pull out almost a 5-second gap over Matt. In fact, it actually is a 5-second gap over Matt Richards, and Matt Richards himself is still 2.7 seconds ahead of Toby. So yes, was pulled away by about 1.4 seconds from Matej Orban, but he hasn't really done too much to make any inroads on Matt Richards for a podium place. And I wonder if that's possibly due to the fact that, you know, maybe it could be punch and cat trading blow for blow in terms of lap times, I wonder. But you see Ross McGregor getting very opportunistic under brakes. He hits the barriers. That was really going to be always no opportunity move. He would have stand straight into the back of Eric Tavai, avoiding action. And I think Eric Tavai is thinking, what have I done to deserve being in this much events all day? But let's have a look at the replay. You just see here, I think Ross just caught himself a little bit too late on the brakes, and the car was squirming around underneath him, just managed to get it stopped before he hit the back, but of course he just cracked the barriers a little bit, and he's carried on. Now he's back down to 8th position, now battling ironically with Adam Nielsen and Kevin Enderman over the final top 10 places. So this certainly seems to be a circuit there. If you hit liberty with it, it can catch you out. 7 drivers already have found out in this race, and we now approach the halfway point.
Yeah, these boys have got to be sensible and just remind themselves that they're not racing at Abu Dhabi. They're not racing where there's 20 cars or run off on every corner. There is no runoff, and in fact, in some places, the runoff is treated. So these boys have just got to take stock of that fact and just maybe rein it in 5% or something like that. If they want to finish it, how it's got to be done. Monroe has stabilised his pace up the front, by the way. We haven't mentioned him for a while because there's no need. He's just in the front, 6.4 seconds away from the nearest challenger, which is Germany's Robert Wiesenmuller at the moment. Matt Richards is dropping back slowly into the clutches of Jesper Talbot, or you can look at it another way, Jesper Talbot is gaining on Matt Richards. It's one or the other. Either way, they're going to eventually converge. And I would say Matt Richards has struggled towards the end of the races so far this season. Whether it be concentration or whether he's ruining his rear tyres, I'm not quite sure. I never have quite got to the bottom of why he drops off, but he is going to be in trouble in a few laps' time, I would anticipate. Orban has dropped off the back of Talbot as well, so I think it's going to be a little bit status quo now for a few laps. Maybe Rob Taplin can get on the back of White, but Taplin showing that he can come through the field a little bit, and he's done a pretty good job so far, Scott.
Yeah, I reckon so. It's definitely good to see Taplin again living up to the reputation he managed to build up a little bit in this series, that he managed to come through and managed to find his feet, I think, a little bit, which is quite good. But I think talking about John Monroe, I think at least about, I think that, you know, the recent events, of course, now that he's had some fantastic opportunities. He had a great weekend, of course, at Autosport Week. He's got the chance to meet John Surtees, and of course, he actually took part in several simulators and actually set a brand new record for, I think it was a kart simulator. So it seems to be that things that are going on outside of his sim racing life, he seems to be able to channel those good vibes into his sim racing. He seems to have a renewed vigour coming into the beginning of this year now, after the show at least. I think this is one of the first races that he's done since the show, and of course he's shown like a renewed pace. Not that he didn't have any pace before, but he seems to just found an extra gear in terms of how fast he can, how fast and how hard he can push, and he seems to be working because he's now got, as I said, almost a 6.5 second lead over RW, who is arguably one of, if not the fastest overall in these kind of cars. Effectively, it is a fact, of course, if John wasn't racing today, obviously Racing will be running away with it, and he would have about a 7-second gap himself. So it's incredible to think that you know what a difference one driver can make to the running order and to the pecking order of the championship. So, of course, John's not in the championship fight at all. He's missed too many rounds. He only took maybe one appearance at the Salzburg Ring. And of course, that lasted 2 corners before he managed to roll it over. But thankfully, he lasted longer than that, and he's actually doing a cracking job at the front. And I really hope that if he's able to just keep it all together, then he can go ahead and take his first win, because I think a lot of people will really be happy to see that, and it's, of course, it's very long overdue, because he's taken plenty of pole positions, plenty of podiums, plenty of fantastic results, but just hasn't been able to string the end result all together to get to the top step of the podium. And at this point in the race right now, he seems to be getting to the point where he is putting himself in the prime position to do just that and to break these stats here at TVS.
Yeah, and I think he's long overdue a win, to be honest, Mr. Monroe. He's shown that he should have won a few races. You can say that about any driver. He should have won championships and all sorts, but he certainly has had the pace to do so. He just never has quite finished it off. And now is prime opportunity for him to do so. As we've got Tim Straub and Andy Bernard racing each other strongly, and in the background they've got Sebastian Rosenmeyer, who Keith refers to as Rosemary, and turning off every time. Jonathan Ockerklint is in the barrier behind them in 17th place. Every time I seem to go to Ockerklint, he's doing something that isn't closely resembling a racing driver. Yeah, David Yunt coming off the final corner, and he is in 18th place. He obviously had a bit of a problem towards the start, because I think he was about 12th in qualifying, so problem for him. Łukasz Demelin is in 19th place, and Pedro Amaral is the last person on the lead lap. Tony Matthews is actually a whole lap down the final runner today. So let's head back towards the front of the field, because it has come down a little bit, but they are still fairly close, and Taplin and Fight are closer than they have ever been, actually, 4/10 apart now. So, so Taplin is going to get underneath the rear wing of Fight as he gets very squirmy out of the left-hander. And if he does so, he will get the slipstream, and the Capri, as we were saying, is very good in the slipstream. So he's got to get a good run off the final corner.
I'm pretty sure he will. I think this certainly seems to be the fight at the moment, the duel for 6th place between Dwight Taplin and McGregor. This seems to be the one entertaining the crowd the most here at Österreichring. We're now on lap 17 and 26, so we're inside the final 10 laps. There's only 26 laps of this race. It's not a very long race, I guess, but it's all tight a little bit sideways off the jump, and that allows Taplin to sneak up the inside and have a little bit of a cheeky look. We'll have to back out a bit, of course, as is wide at that first corner, because it's such a fast run, and because effectively the car's so unsettled, it takes a moment for the car to resettle itself off the jump. Then if you try and throw it up the inside, it can only end in one way, and that's badly for that one. Pedro Amaral appears to, for whatever reason, possibly for some, I would have thought for tyres, either that'll probably some damage to something somewhere.
Yeah, more likely to be the latter, I think. Yeah. We haven't seen a tyre stop at all this season so far, so yeah, I would suggest he's probably been in the wars.
But then again, who hasn't? As well as you see now, it's the battle for.
Oh no, it's all sideways action going on. That's Mr. Demelin.
And Łukasz Demelin.
Yeah, Łukasz Demelin. Yeah, Matthews is a lap behind actually, but yeah, Amaral obviously in the pit lane. Let's see if we can what had happened to his car. Yes, he probably had a punctured. Find out. It looks like a damage repair to me. So Amaral not having the best of races, as he's not had the best of season, but kudos to him for sticking it out, to be honest. A driver of much lesser quality myself would have given up way before now, so congratulations to him for sticking at it. And these two, Richards and Telborg, of course I'm referring to, they're only about a second apart now, Scott, so they are closing in.
I did actually that at the corner of my eye. I did see that Talborg, ever the hard charger, has just slowly but surely just crept up to within 1.5 seconds of Matt Richardson's third. Yeah. So it seems though that Talborg charges back on once again. He's got another 9 laps, including the one we're on, to make a bit more progress. And then once he's able to just sail up a little bit better, a little bit more, he should be able to close in. The gap's actually gone up a little bit since. How's it looking at? I think it's about 1.6.
Oh, Richards is sideways.
Richards getting very snaky.
That's why I think Richards is in the faster car right now, but he's making little mistakes, and that's allowing Talborg to close. I mean, who would you? I mean, I would say that Talborg is probably going to get up to the back of him and cause Richards to make further mistakes, and that will allow Talborg through. That's the way I read this situation going, but I don't know whether it's. I don't know whether Talborg's gaining quite quickly enough. It would be interesting to see the sector splits coming through here now. And yeah, the gaps remain about the same, so Talborg himself wasn't too clean through there. Taplin and McGregor and Fight and Nielsen are all line astern as well, but there's not really any moves going on here because Fight is just so quick in a straight line in that M1. It is just a growling beast, to be honest.
It is, as Ryan Callum described on the Facebook chat earlier on, it is just sheer brute force with that M1. Just how much power. Just watch how Taplin's only just staying with Fight because he's in the draft. But if he wasn't in the draft, the M1 would just blast away from him on the straights because it is so light, and of course the power's right there. But you see just how much Taplin closes under brakes, and he can get the better run through the corner, but off the exit because Dwight has the power advantage and the weight advantage in some cases. He just purely drive away from him. It seems to be that Taplin can only what he can do is find a spot to outbrake him and force his way up the inside, but obviously in a clean and safe manner to do so. So,
well, that's how Richards got by Fight, of course, earlier in the race, and that exit into the corner we're coming up to now. But the Capri is lighter than the M1, so it is able to brake a lot later. Taplin's got to be a bit wary of that as well. In fact, he braked a little bit earlier than Fight, and Fight is a bit loose on the brakes as well when he gets it in the end. And Orban actually is not too far out the road from this little battle either, and Fight's a little bit wide out of that corner, wider than he should have been perhaps. But yeah, these guys are all... Oh, look at this, Taplin sending one right up to the back of Fight through there, and Fight is living dangerously, isn't he? I'm not sure he's going to be able to hold on to this for much longer.
We'll have to wait and see, of course. But it's fantastic how effectively Fight setting the pace, and he's actually starting to reel in Orban. It's Matthew Orban, but the thing is, he's bringing Taplin and to a certain extent Ross McGregor with him, and then just behind him is Anders Nielsen. You see Taplin losing a little bit of track position there through the middle of the corner, and then the car drifts a little bit wide. And you can see that's quite intriguing. You can see Matty Orban in front there, because I think he's moved to the inside to try and just stop despite getting a tiny bit of a draft down the pit straight. But
look at the
you
jump.
See that? You saw that just very quickly, but braking in the middle of the corner to try and help second the car again. And that's something I don't believe Taplin's having to do. At least if he is doing it, he's not doing it as much.
It's not, because the M1 rolls a bit too much actually. So
because of the extra weight. Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. So and it's actually got a higher centre of gravity as well. I don't know if you can see, but the engine is actually higher up in that car as well. So
the rear end especially.
Yeah. So the M1 is not really conducive to flat cornering, and particularly not conducive to that kind of jump as we see entering turn one. You can see why they put a chicane there, can't you? But yeah. Oh, and Fight's a little bit wide. This is Taplin's chance, side by side. Can Taplin get in front of him though? That's the thing, because Fight has the power off the corner, and he'll be able to stay side by side as they enter the left-hander. But he gives up. Taplin, Taplin gets through and takes that position away. And we were saying, it would take a Dwight mistake, and it has taken a Dwight mistake. And Dwight loses out now, and he's down to 7th, having been in 2nd place in the early stages of this race. So showing that he really, he's got the 1-lap pace, but that car is obviously so difficult to drive on a consistent basis. And Simon Shepard, of course, is retired from this race, also in an M1. But Dwight is close enough now, actually, to have a go at Taplin. Based on straight line speed entering turn 1 here, so we'll see.
Taplin's now going to have to do one of two things here. He's focused on trying to close in on Matthew Orban to grab 6th position, but of course he's going to have to keep one eye on his rearview mirrors. And of course Eric de Vite, with that straight line of speed advantage, he's going to be looming large in his mirrors as de Vite again puts it onto the grass, and lucky not to lose it once again as Ross McGregor. He's fallen back, he's still there or thereabouts in 8th position. You can see Taplin just how quickly he's managed to get it off the back of Matty Orban. So Taplin seems to be the man at the moment who's making the moves, because as far as I can see, Taplin isn't really making enough of enough inroads on Matt Richards to snatch the 3rd, and he's running out of time and laps there to get it done. But this seems to be the main change that's going to possibly go on pretty soon, because Taplin was quick enough in the corners to send one up the inside of Toby at this point a lap ago, and it seems as though he's got enough pace to sail up onto the back of Matthew Orban, trying to run through the exit of that corner. And that Apple Computer's reporter could find himself staring at the back of the black and blue Ford Capri if he's not too careful within the next lap or so. Because you can see that Taplin is just chomping at the bit. He wants to get that 6th position, the 5th position I should say, and get himself a top 5 finish. I think he would definitely love to have. And also it would certainly give his championship points tally a lot of good, because of course he's currently running inside the top 10. I'll double check he's in the top 5 as well. So let me double check on the standings. He is currently, if I have a look as they head now back on the pit straight, Taplin currently sits 4th in the standings. He's only 3 points behind Ross McGregor, so he'll be able to get the more points he can take from the guys around him, the more points he can take out of Ross McGregor, and also get himself into potentially 3rd place in the championship, as Toby getting sideways again in that BMW M1, and lucky not to lose the rear end once more. But that M1 certainly does not seem to be looking or performing, handling at least, to Toby fighting as Lucas Demoli's pulling off because he's a lap down, so that's fine. But these guys are now, you see Ross McGregor getting himself involved, It's now a four-way scrap going on for the final top 5 places. Tapping got a little too much oversteer on the exit of the right hand.
Oh, here comes Tveit. This car is absolutely monstrous in a straight line, and Tveit has got to run. He's got the slipstream, he's got the straight line speed advantage, he's up the inside. Can he brake late enough to take the position of Taplin? No! Taplin sweeps around the outside, retains the position, and Tveit, as you can see, just does not have that braking performance. Oh, Orban was wide! What's happened to Orban? He's dropped back, lost 2 places. Yeah, he must have got wide into the wall, I guess. We'll just hang fire for a little bit on the replay just to see if anything does happen, because Taplin has got by Orban as a result, and now heads this queue of 4. And Orban, of course, will be a little bit shaken up by that, and he's got McGregor all over him in an identical Porsche. Here we go. McGregor trying to get the cutback, using a bit of grass on the inside. And there's one of the cars was wide, I believe that was Tveit, but they're still side by side, and McGregor trying to be opportunistic, trying to take the position before Orban gets settled again. They're sort of going side by side through the final corner, oval style through there, but McGregor cannot get that done. Let's see if we can see what happened to Matej Orban in that long sweeping right-hander. Just have to bear with me 2 seconds, and yeah, he just braked a little bit too late. Oh, he got a twitch on through the middle part of the corner. Actually got away with that very well, indeed. So he survives to fight another day, but it does move Taplin up into 5th place, and that's going to help him in his championship hopes this season. I would say, with regards to the championship, Robert Wiesenmuller, if it stays as it is, will still be behind Talbot by 1 point, I believe, in the championship. So it's going to close up very nicely heading into the final 2 rounds at Fuji and of course at Mount Panorama. But exciting stuff just then, and Orban's under pressure from McGregor once again, Scott.
You really have to think about backing out there, and McGregor actually getting very loose on the brake for that right hand, so they're possibly pushing that car a little bit too hard into that section. He's possibly going to have to sit back and rethink this tactically, and I think he'll try and close in the couple of corners that they have in front. But now looking here for the battle for 3rd, it has closed up now. I think it's now only 1.4 seconds. But the thing is that Richards is being able to do enough to hold on and just keep Talbot at bay, and that's something that we usually see from. I think honestly, there's very few drivers that can. Well, yes, but Talbot can put the charge in. There's very few drivers that can actually get themselves into such a state and such a rhythm that they can actually match his pace and keep him at bay, because the gap's now 1.3. So the thing is that Talbot is closing, but he's not closing fast enough. As a huge amount of dust
no, please don't be Munro. I think it was Munro exiting the first corner. Let's have a quick look.
Because I think Munro's too far ahead. I think
maybe.
It must have been a lapped car. I think it was a lapped car, because it
could also be. It's hard to say on this particular camera angle because it has such a. Oh, Richards!
No!
Richards, is he still on the track? He is, but look at the gap. Here comes Talbot down the inside. Can he make it stick? Oh, they bash side by side, but Talbot's through. Talbot up to 3rd, and that is fantastic for his championship. Oh, Richards sideways. Is he going to hit Talbot? Oh, he just held on to it, but Richards sideways and runs wide and survives. So Richards is in 4th, Talbot in 3rd, and it's all happening at the final couple of laps here.
The insides of that 4-3 arc round, I'm quite surprised, because Matt Richards with a very scary moment, and all started on the exit of that corner, ran wide across the glass. That allowed Talbot to get the right because his exit was clean from that right-hander. Caught alongside, there was a little bit of body contact, and then Richards trying to get it stopped, just about missed the back end of Talbot's Porsche. And that's just exactly how it was with Hockenheim, pushing a little bit too hard, in a prime position, and losing out. So Richards letting him get it back in the next couple of laps. Because the leader, John Moreau, has started to start the lap now. Still an 8.2-second gap. I think he's looking at protecting the firing screen. What's the rest? I think that's just got around that Orban 7, because it has to change on my screen.
Oh, look at the air that Richards gets. Unbelievable. And they both run a little bit wide out of turn 1, but Richards has definitely gained through turn 1, so it's still on, this battle, and Richards is there, and he will be hungry to take that position back from his Danish rival in the Porsche. But he's running wide, he keeps it on the grey stuff and away from the nasty green stuff, and Richards, oh, he's pushing so hard, Scott. He's pushing unbelievably hard, actually. He doesn't need to, but he wants that podium position back from Jesper Talborg. And Talborg, you have to say, Oh, as Richards locks up the rears as well. It's so close between these two. Pick a winner.
It's pretty difficult. I mean, Talbot's not one to make a mistake through pressure. He's very good at coping with someone on the back of the pool. Usually if Talbot makes a mistake, it's off his own back. He's not due to someone riding up to the back of him and trying to push through. As we've seen now, Ross McGregor, and I was right, of course, looking at it, he has got around Matthew Orban, so that's going to continue on to the final lap, of course. And you can see now, what's interesting, Tapman's actually pulled away now. He's got a 1.7 second advantage now over Eric Tveit, which is quite intriguing. So Tapman in clean air definitely seems to be working, but this man, though, we've hardly had to talk about him, and for good reason, because he's been absolutely dominant. Oh, careful, John.
Not on the final lap, son.
Yeah. But I don't really want to call it yet, but effectively, it's been practically a flawless drive from John Monroe. I think really, he's waited so long. I think he's scored a second place. He's had 2 third places in his career. Never's been second. He's scored, I think, 4 pole positions. And he's now going to go ahead and hopefully, if he can get it around the last half lap or so, go on to take his first victory at the 49th time of asking.
Look at these boys, by the way, on the final lap. Tveit is still there, and McGregor and Orban. Oh, Orban's wide, so Orban is dropped. He's dropped, definitely dropped behind McGregor now, as we were saying. I did pick up on that. I just briefly forgot, but Tveit is there, and he's still staying in 6th place, and that is a decent result in the M1, to be honest, around this track. I don't think Monroe felt it was the fastest car, but look at the run McGregor's got, and he's gonna have a go, and Orban's there as well. Oh, contact down the back straight. They're so tight, but Tveit loses that position. Oh, he's just gonna get the back of McGregor, and now to McGregor's round, and Tveit's in the wall, and he's got huge damage on the front. Monroe is going to cross the line for his first TouringProSeries win.
And well earned as well. Fantastic job. And John Monroe should be absolutely ecstatic with that. That's his first ever TPS win. Finally, he gets the monkey off his back. That's incredible stuff. Robert Wiesenmuller will come across to sustain his championship position in 2nd place. Yeah, and then we now wait for this battle as Talbot will just win out the battle for 4th position, I should say. No, it's 3rd position, sorry. So 3rd will go to Talbot, 4th will go to Richards. Taplin will get himself into P5 after a great run. Orban will end up 6th, and despite the contact, McGregor will finish 7th. Kevin Enderman ends up 8th through good fortune. Eric Tveit with a rather battered BMW ended up missing his whole front section. Comes across in 9th, and that's some words I'm pretty sure for Ross McGregor.
Yeah, that's
Anders Nilsson ends his day in the top 10, so that's the top 10 when across the line. We've got Salsa Ferreira crossing 11th, Ralph Ferreira in 12th, and Valencia. And then the last few times we've come through, we've still got them to go through. But it's incredible. We've had 26 laps of racing, only 1 car has actually retired. That was Simon Shepherd, and that was only on lap 12, so on the halfway stage of the race. So incredible stuff. But you have to admit, I think everyone's going to be happy with the fact that John Monroe has finally got himself his first victory in TPS. I think everyone's going to be delighted with that one.
Yes, and fully deserved. And he's not just done it, you know, luckily, he's done it by 10 seconds from our former championship leader, Robert Wiesenmuller, and of course the TPS champion as well. And not only that, he's taken the fastest lap and pole position as well, just for good measure. So, fantastic
led every lap
performance.
as well. That is what in Vettel terms are
grand slam, absolutely right. And
fastest in every session as well. That's a complete grand slam.
Yep, absolutely right. So, congratulations, John Monroe, and I'm looking forward to speaking to him in the interviews in just a couple of minutes' time. But yeah, it's closing the championship up nicely, and we will be back in just a second for the driver interviews, and I will be desperate to speak to our latest TPS winner.
Inside SimRacing.tv, the fastest show on the internet. Sim racing news and reviews since 2007, with new shows every week.
Welcome back, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, all of the rest of it. Hope you enjoyed the final few laps of the race here today at Österreichring. It was Absolutely mental, the final few laps, but not for one man. And Scott, I mean, we were just astounded by Mr. Munro today, weren't we?
It certainly were. I mean, like I say, it's the 49th time of asking, despite the fact he's taken 4 pole positions and only 2 third places, never a second place. He's always been in some kind of position, whether or not he was on the front row of the grid and had problems in the race for whatever reason, or just things didn't go his way. This race, as we said, it was the Grand Slam. He was fastest in every practice session, fastest in qualifying, a complete license to flag victory, and led every single lap. And just to rub it into everyone's faces, he takes the fastest lap as well. That is Vettel-style domination, I have to say. And I don't say that lightly. I mean that because effectively only someone like Sebastian Vettel could do all of that in Formula One. That's the only time we've ever really seen that. So credit where credit is due. John Munro's taking his first victory, and in some fashion, you have to admit, because others take it by just the skin of their teeth, and they do it on a chance for a win. Not John today. He absolutely just rang the neck of that for Capri, and he managed to end the race 10 seconds ahead of various TPS champions. I mean, that's an incredible drive, and I'm pretty sure it'll be the first of many now. Hopefully it's unlocked the floodgates for John, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'd like to have a word with him as well if he is here. John, are you here with us? Yeah, nice. Let's just get your thoughts on that. How do you feel after the race today and taking your first Touring Pro Series victory?
I'm just happy to be on 4 wheels, to be honest. I was seriously concerned about making a mistake there and having an incident, but just got the consistency going and managed to gap a little bit at the start. Was a bit tense and made a few mistakes. But then once Eric and Robert and Matt started battling for a second, I just put the hammer down and managed to do about 10 laps in a row within a couple of tenths, and just marched away. And I was just being so careful not to make any mistakes, especially with back markers. And the nature of the track, it's very difficult to do it. And I also wanted to build a big enough gap to Rob because I knew his tyres would be better at the end, but that didn't seem to be too much the case because I was driving nice and smoothly. And just absolutely over the moon.
And fully deserved as well. Pole position and fastest lap. It couldn't be any better today.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was one stage I was just so desperate to pull away from the other guys because it's been such a long time, or it feels like it's been decades, trying to get that win. But I just pulling away each lap and managed to set consecutive fastest laps, and I think that's what bridged the gap. And I have to say to Robert, he kept me on my toes the whole time because I was just watching that time and it was creeping up a little bit, but I didn't make a mistake on any of those laps, and Robert managed to stay within a tenth, at least on every single lap. So he obviously didn't make any mistakes as well. So just absolutely delighted.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see someone else on top of this TPS podium for once. Scott, have you got a question for John?
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic job, obviously, John. Full credit as credit's deserved. Do you think I mentioned something in the broadcast, obviously, that you've had a fantastic time of late, of course, with everything at the Autosport show and the opportunities that could be coming your way this year. Do you think that off the back of that, that's had an effect on your performances in sim racing? It did seem to be that today you seem to be on a different, in some ways, a different level to everyone else on the track. Do you think that effectively recent events have had an effect on that? Do you think that's helped giving you a boost in terms of your sim racing expertise?
Yeah, I do think it is partially to blame. I mean, it did give me quite a lot of confidence, feeling that I can actually, be the person who can beat everyone else instead of being the guy who always gets beaten. So it did help my confidence, and it was just putting the effort for this one. Worked really well with Matt, who I have to thank a lot for the setup and things like that. We just managed to work really well on the way the car handled here, and all through the season in VTM. The only race I managed to make was Salzburg, and I rolled on lap 1, so I felt like a bit of justice was in order. I needed to show that I could drive these cars, and hopefully I did that today. But yeah, it's good. The Autosport show did help a bit, I think, with confidence, as you say. But it's a mixture of that, practicing a lot, and just generally getting a bit more experience and staying calm in race conditions. I think that's what won it for me today.
Yeah, we did a bit mention Salzburg, to be fair, but
can't blame me. I've had so much abuse for that.
All 2 corners of it.
Yeah. Fully deserved, quite frankly. I mean, how did he manage to roll it from pole? But anyway, congratulations today, John, and you join an elite group of drivers, and fantastic result.
Thank you very much.
I think, Scott, you've probably want to talk to maybe Mr. Wiesenmuller?
Yeah, quite possibly. Rob, of course, you managed to get the car on the front row of the grid. You had a bit of a shaky start, but just from there, it always seemed to be kind of running your own pace. Just talk us through your race from your point of view, because it all seemed to be you got a bit of the start seemed to kind of put you down a little bit, and you had to fight your way back up into a podium place.
I think my start was pretty good actually. It was just that I got overtaken by Dwight on the first lap, I think. He has much more power on the straight, and yeah, I needed some time to get back into second place. And from then on, I was just doing my laps very consistently. And yeah, I don't think really that I could have done anything different. To be honest, I was driving quite fast, but it was not enough. So, congratulations to John. Well-deserved victory.
Now, of course, going into the last couple of races at Fuji and Bathurst, of course, this is in some ways tried to help strengthen your position in the championship, and you are still locked in with Jesper, of course, in the battle for the championship. I mean, given that obviously Fuji is quite a power circuit, and then we come to Bathurst, which of course is very tight and twisty in its own nature. How do you rate your your and the Salika's chances of getting the points that you need to potentially get yourself the championship title here, coming into Bathurst?
Well, basically all I have to do is beat Jesper in every race. I think then we're tied on points, and I got more wins. So yeah, I think I can do that, to be honest, if I don't have any problems.
So, of course, where you've had 2 victories, and of course Jesper's had none. So it really does show that. But even so, Jesper's still leading the championship, I believe, at some point, or he's up there battling with you for the title. So it really does show that in this championship of all championships in TPS, that consistency is key to stay in the championship hunt.
Yeah, I mean, of course. Jesper's doing a brilliant job, like always. The consistency. To be honest, I expected that he would be like a little bit faster on the tracks, but it might be his car, of course. Can't really judge that. So, but from what I saw in the previous rounds, is that I could on almost every track I could keep up with him and be faster. So, I'm quite confident.
Well done, second place, well earned, and hopefully you can continue the trend and next time out at Fuji Speedway. So, but congratulations on second place today, Rob.
I just have one question for Rob. Actually, is how did you manage to fix your wheel in the end?
Oh yes, the problems he had after Taruma. I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, and Hockenheim, of course, as well. Retired on the final lap. So.
Yeah, I was not really sure what the problem was. So I tried everything. First of all, I cleaned the wheel, of course, which is often the case, that maybe it's dusty inside. I opened it, checked for mistakes, but didn't find anything. And then I just switched the USB port, one of the back of my computer, and taped everything together so no cable can, get out of the wheel. And it seems to work.
All right, fair enough. Well, congratulations on your result today. Second place is good. I want to talk to Matt Richards, and I want to find out why it seems to be that he never managed to hold on to a position. So, Matt, why is it that you never hold on to a position?
I just messed up. My brake pedal felt like it was stuck on, so I tried to pull it up and just went wide. And yes, we got a position. That was it, really.
Yeah, he was gaining on you over those few laps, and we saw you making 1 or 2 small mistakes. Was that a case that you were losing the rear tires, or a bit of bit of loss of concentration, or just simply because these cars are difficult to drive on this track, or what?
I was trying to push a little bit less at the start of the race to save the tires for the end, but obviously that didn't quite work enough. And once I started to try and push to hold out the gap to Jesper, it just didn't quite work, and I was starting to lose the rear tires a lot. So that was the main reason. But I was keeping some form of steady gap to him, so maybe I could have held it. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, it's tricky when you've got Jesper Talborg creeping up behind you, and but congratulations today anyway. It was a decent result in the end.
Thank you.
Scott, you've got another driver?
I do. Just looking through the drivers that we do have. Let's have a chat to Mate Orban. Mate, you were involved in quite a lot in the battles that we had near the end of the race, of course, with the likes of Tveit and Taplin and the like. Just how did it all go down from your point of view? Because you were quite caught up in those, and it did seem as though it was quite an eventful last few laps.
Well, I had a great start, and then I just concentrate to push and keep up with the fastest guys on the front. It went pretty well at the early stages, but then I start to lose ground, and I got Jesper, then Eric on my back, and it was a pretty hard job to keep up and don't let my place to Eric. But at the end, I totally lost grip, and it was pretty hard to stay the car on the track. But I was pretty lucky and managed to pass Ross and Eric at the end. It was quite entertaining.
Yes, we're not quite sure what they were doing, to be honest, Mr. Tveit particularly, and McGregor making that sort of little crashy incident. Did you see much of that?
Yes, I saw it from the first row. What exactly happened is I think Ross is lost grip under braking. And then he just slides to Eric, I think.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thank you for your time, Mr. Orban, and congratulations again on your result.
Yep.
So, Scott, thank you for joining me today. What do you think of Virtual Touring Masters for this season in the DRM cars? A bit different to what we've seen before, isn't it?
Indeed. I mean, I'm certainly a fan of the Group A era. That's one of my favourite eras of racing. But looking at the Virtual Touring Masters and the racing it's provided, it certainly has maybe look a little bit more into the history of the cars and how they drive, and they're just absolute beasts. These things, they're absolutely incredible. I have seen a few of the races. The only races I haven't seen anything of this season is, I'll be honest, is Cleveland. But I certainly will try and keep an eye as best I can for Fuji and for Bathurst. I mean, who knows if Keith is still sunning himself in Jamaica at that point. I might be in for Fuji, if not Bathurst, but then again, he'll probably be back by then. So, if not, of course, I'll certainly be around watching the races at least, especially Bathurst, because I mean, who doesn't have a race at Bathurst? I mean, I certainly do. One of my top favourite. We'll gloss over that, especially with your history in World Touring Masters. But aside from that, Bathurst has always puts on great racing. And I think it should be a fantastic season finale. Should it go down to the wire between RW and Jesper comes to that. But I was more than happy to stand in at last notice. Of course, Ryan asked me with about half an hour to go and said, fancy commentating?
That's it.
Of course. So always happy to stand in. Of course, always a pleasure. I'm not sure I've really commentated with you on many occasions, if not at all, Toby. I think I might have done once or twice.
Maybe once or twice on again on an emergency basis, probably. But
yes,
yeah,
possibly. But it's always good fun. I know that you're quite overexcitable, especially you and Keith together.
Well, me and Keith is a different story. We talk about fish and chips, and he does Arnie Schwarzenegger impressions. So I wouldn't worry about that. It's nice to to have you in the booth today, and I did enjoy it. But it's certainly a much better race than Hockenheim, which was a bit of a snooze fest through the middle of the race, unfortunately.
Definitely.
But,
and I will just silver line that for 1 second. It's been a very good day. This caps off a very good day because for those who are unaware, and apologies for saying this and sound like I'm being big-headed, but I'm really not. But I finally, we talked about John Moreau getting the monkey off his back today. I finally got one off mine today. Is that this morning, I finally passed my driving test. So
congratulations.
Thank you very much. So I'm now unleashed onto the roads now, and that also means effectively now if I wanted to have a play on any racetracks, I'm free to do so. So yeah.
Well, yes, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that in the first year of driving.
I'm not that stupid. I'm not driving license straight over to Snetterton to go and tear it up. No. I want at least a few months driving on the roads before I do anything on racetracks. Yeah. But if you know what I mean, that effectively means I can, once I've got enough experience, go and have a play fine on a few racetracks, which is quite good. But yeah, that's something I'm quite relieved to get out of the way. So and everyone who's messaged me on Facebook and today and congratulated me, I very much appreciate that. It's been really nice for people to do that. But so yeah, I'm pleased that I think there's two people have got monkeys off their backs today. But yeah, obviously the main point of this broadcast is John's putting a fantastic performance and got his first TPS win. And I think everyone will agree, thoroughly deserved, fantastic performance. And I'm pretty sure it'll be the first of many now. Hopefully the floodgates will start to open, because if that's the kind of pace he can show when everything goes right for him on the day, who knows what he can achieve if he's able to string together a full season's worth of results like that.
Yeah, the difference will be when it doesn't go right and he still comes out on top. But kudos to John. He's done a great job today, and he will, of course, take more victories. I have no doubt whatsoever. Just to remind you of other series that we've got going on, of course, we've got the next round of the Virtual Carrera Cup from Thruxton, which is probably one of my favourite tracks. I love that track. So looking forward to that one. Hopefully be able to actually race that one and see whether we can stop Tim Heinemann from winning everything, because it's getting pretty boring, actually, to be honest. So it'd be nice to race there at Virtual Carrera Cup, and of course you can catch that on Saturday, February the whatever it is, so the 5th, I believe.
Saturday
7th. I can't see it on my
screen. Is it this
screen.
Weekend? This
so
weekend,
it says on your screen. You can see it on your screen. It's coming up shortly. So enjoy.
It comes up shortly, right?
Yeah.
Whatever day it's on a Saturday.
Enjoy Thruxton for the Virtual Carrera Cup. It's the 1st of Feb. I've just been reliably informed by Mr. Monroe.
1st of February.
Thank you very much. And of course, 3 days after that, we've got the minis at. We're going to Cascavel, I believe.
No, Campo Grande.
It
says it right in front of you.
There's Campo Grande. I thought we were going to Cascavel next, but that's what Ryan told me earlier. But anyway, again, it's on your screen. We will be there for another broadcast, and we'll see whether Robert Wiesemuller can beat Chris Butcher. And of course, Eric Strachan is currently leading the title race for Ice Cold, and himself and Dwight have shown exactly what teammates are all about with the last round, actually, and been very impressed with how that team is working right now, actually, in general. So congratulations to Strana for leading the championship,
and of course
Dwight for helping it out.
And of course, we can't forget, of course, because unfortunately we did miss the broadcast out the previous Saturday just gone. Of course, is that the following Saturday, after the Virtual Carrera Cup this Sunday, the following Saturday, we should be back to business as usual for the Virtual Supertech series. We have to apologise there was no broadcast because, as was explained on our Facebook page, everyone was either unwell, unavailable, or in my case, I got called into work early. So I would have done it had I not been called in. But we should get, hopefully, another broadcast of the Virtual Supertech series. Myself and Ryan should be back in the booth for that one. I forget where that's going to be, but it's probably going to be one of the Brazilian tracks, unless someone can.
I would anticipate that's probably the case.
Because it says it is Game Stock Car on a Brazilian league, so it's possibly going to be about that. So
we'll endeavour to see again whether Lauritsen can be beaten.
In fact, there we go. It's actually VSS is Cascavel. That's
there you go. That was the confusion I had. Any case, we're going to have to leave this now because we've been talking for about 20 minutes of inane chatter.
Yeah,
so,
I'm quite surprised that Ryan hasn't given us a slap wrist yet.
It's probably because he's out. So anyway, while the cat's away. Any case, thank you very much all for joining us. If you're still listening right now, well done. And hopefully we will see you very shortly, and join us for the next round of the Virtual Toy Masters, actually at Fuji, because it's got the longest straight in the world, and that will be ridiculous. I guarantee that will be absolutely ridiculous to watch. You'll have 3 times in one straight people overtaking each other. So enjoy, and have a good evening, have a good night, bless your faces, see you soon.
Bye bye.